What's the boldest thing you did after finding out your spouse cheated? You want to know the revenge I took on my cheating wife? Alright, here it is. From the outside, our life looked good. We were your average suburban couple, stable jobs, a nice home, decent health, a solid physical relationship, and 2 children. I truly believed we had a good marriage. Things got rocky for a while, the way they do when 2 people are stretched thin. We were both clocking in long hours at work and barely had any time left for each other. On top of that, our son was going through a difficult phase, and it was wearing on everyone. The tension in the house had been building for weeks. I started noticing my wife glued to her phone all the time, constantly messaging what she said were her girlfriends. I figured it was harmless. Still, I made a real effort to be more present, came home earlier when I could, helped out more, tried to reconnect. But no matter what I did, the distance between us kept growing. One day, I pulled out an old tablet so my son could use it. When I turned it on, her Facebook Messenger was still logged in. That was when I saw messages between her and a guy named Jim, someone from her hometown. While they were not outright explicit, they raised some serious red flags. There were gaps in the conversation and a tone that hinted at more than what was showing. I figured some messages had already been deleted. I did not bring it up right away. Instead, I kept trying to repair things. The next day, I took off from work, fixed a few things around the house I knew she had wanted done, and left her a couple of notes telling her how much she meant to me. Later that evening, she was tucked away in the corner of the living room, typing away again. I went back into the office, opened the tablet, and watched live as she and Jim mocked me, joked about my flaws, my insecurities, even things I had only shared with her in confidence. There was no full-blown sexting yet, but the way she was talking about our private life, especially my performance in the bedroom, made it clear there was more than just friendly banter going on. I started taking screenshots, though I missed a lot of the conversation because she was deleting messages while I watched. I could not bring myself to confront her. That night, I stayed in the office until she went to sleep and knocked back a few drinks. The following day, I called in sick and sat with everything I had seen. I drank some more, went back and forth about what I was supposed to do. When she got home that night, she asked what was wrong. I told her it was just a rough day. Then I watched as the messages continued like nothing had happened. That started 2 full weeks of quietly collecting screenshots, drinking more than I should, and emotionally checking out of the marriage. Eventually, the messages left no doubt. They were now openly romantic, and Jim was telling her he loved her. That was it for me. I hired a lawyer and started planning. Then things got even more bizarre. From the chats, I figured out that Jim was coming into town to spend the weekend with her, booked at a fairly upscale hotel. I did not get the full details, but it was obvious enough. The next morning, she came to me all sweet, saying she wanted to take a spa weekend with her friends. Said it would help her reset, and when she got back, we could really work on things. I played along. Told her it was a great idea. Told her I would do whatever it took to get us back on track. Meanwhile, I had my lawyer draft a separation agreement. It stated she would move out, I would have the kids during the week, and there would be no child support until the divorce was finalized. Then I waited, stewing in it all. When the weekend rolled around, I took another day off work. First thing I did was split our joint finances. I took half, left her the other half untouched. I had already rerouted my paycheck to a new bank. I cashed out our money market account, got a check for her portion, and deposited the rest into my new account. I swung by an office supply store and printed 75 pages of screenshots from their messages. That night, she sent me a text saying she was leaving and that she loved me. I told her to enjoy her weekend. A few hours later, I walked into the hotel she and Jim had chosen. I called her phone from the lobby, straight to voicemail. I walked up to the front desk and asked to be connected to Jim's room. When he answered, I said, "Can you send my wife down to the lobby, please?" He acted confused, so I followed up with a bluff. I told him I could just call his wife if he would not. That did it. I gave him 5 minutes. 2 minutes later, my wife stepped off the elevator, clearly rattled. I took her to a quiet corner of the lobby and handed her the stack of messages. She started to lie, but I shut it down. I told her I was not interested in excuses. I made it clear, if she did not move out immediately, I would send the messages to her parents, her daughter, and everyone else we both knew. She had a lot to lose. Her daughter was going through a rough teenage phase, and this would shatter their already fragile bond. Her parents thought the world of her, and she was always trying to live up to their expectations. Her entire image, even her job, depended on looking perfect. I handed her a check, half the money market account. I told her I had already moved the rest. She started to cry. I gave her the separation agreement and said I expected it signed and returned when she came to pick up her things. Then I asked if she wanted to read the screenshots again. She shook her head. I told her to enjoy her time with Jim and warned her not to come back to the house. If she did, I would release everything. I walked out while she was breaking down behind me. When I got to my car, I let loose. Screamed, cried, punched the steering wheel. But not in front of her. I kept it together long enough to finish what I needed to do. That weekend, I ignored her calls and texts. Come Monday, the movers showed up to get her things. She dropped off the signed agreement. I let her talk to the kids, just the usual mommy and daddy need space, but we love you kind of thing. 1 week later, she asked to talk for real. I let her. She sobbed and begged, said she would do anything for a second chance. She knelt beside me, crying into my lap. I had already made my decision. I told her to schedule marriage counseling if she was serious, but she would be living separately. I told her the kids needed her around, so she could come by and help with them. That started the routine, her coming over to cook and have dinner with the kids a few nights a week, doing laundry, cleaning up, then heading back to her place. We went to therapy. She poured her heart out, trying to understand why she cheated. She kept begging for forgiveness. I just sat there and let her. I was never going to take her back. I just needed to show I was the stable parent and that she no longer lived in the house. A few months later, I saw my own therapist. I was diagnosed with depression and post-traumatic stress. I asked work to let me drop down to part-time, and they agreed. 6 months in, I told her I still could not forgive her and wanted a peaceful divorce. I added that maybe one day we could try again. She was crushed but agreed, as long as I promised there was still hope. As the divorce went through, I needed the kids to choose to live with me. I left a browser tab open at home, something like How to Survive Your Wife's Betrayal. I also printed out a few articles and left them where they were easy to find. My daughter saw them, came to me crying. I acted surprised and said she should not have seen them. I told her that her mother made a mistake, but still loved her. That I would always be there for her. That changed everything. She stopped talking to her mom unless it was to yell. So, when the court asked for input, both kids said they wanted to stay with me. No surprise. In the end, I got the house, primary custody, and enough child support to live comfortably working part-time. For the last 2 years, I have been raising my kids, working fewer hours, and letting my ex-wife cover the costs. When she takes the kids on weekends, I get time to myself. I date casually. I enjoy life. To my children, I am the parent who stuck around and did things right. To my ex, I am the one who slipped through her fingers. She still throws herself at me every time she stops by. But it is too late. That door is shut for good.